Jean-Claude Duvalier, who declared a nationwide state of siege Friday. At least 24 people have been killed in anti-government rioting that began a week ago. Haitian refugees in Miami have been expressing their support for the unrest in their homeland for 3 days. Yesterday, police arrested 4 people as the demonstrations again turned violent. Anna Hovind reports.
It began as a celebration of unrest in Haiti, and Miami police say they sympathize with the demonstrators' desire to see Haitian President Jean-Claude Duvalier overthrown. But after this latest night of violence, officials say they can't let the protests go on.
You know, a sun-swept Caribbean island today. It's been very, very quiet. The only indications we have had of any major trouble since we've been here is in the evenings after dark, when you can hear the scattered sounds of the night becoming the gunfire becoming the sounds of the night here. Automatic weapons and semi-automatic weapons in the distance. Some not that far away from our hotel, near the presidential palace. But other than that, Steve, it's been relatively quiet during the day. The marketplace is reopened for business. The secret police are noticeable, but certainly nowhere near as visible as they are at night here. Although they do go through the crowds and they're making their presence known, and you can tell in the crowd that there's fear amongst the people. But there is no question that at this point in this country that the government is in control, and they are certainly also now in control of the press.
John, CNN's Larry Woods is in Haiti as well, and is perhaps a little bit farther out in the countryside than you. Have you talked to him, and is the situation there the same as it is in Port-au-Prince?
No, the situation out in the countryside is noticeably different. The protests, the anti-Duvalier protests, are very evident out in the countryside. But at the same time, the government has moved in with many armed units, many troops, and they've, as you've mentioned, Cap-Haitian, they've put on a curfew out in Cap-Haitian, which is one of the more troubled areas where much of the unrest is centered. And they just seem, though, at this point, to have a lid on the situation here, and that and even the press being restricted. This morning there was a news conference telling the press that if you wished to go out into the countryside, you needed to get provincial passes, and you needed to get permanent papers from the communications department here in Port-au-Prince. And even if you got those, there was no guarantee that the local authorities would let you into some of these other provinces. And we even had a report just a little while ago of one group of journalists pretty much being ushered out by force today from one of the outlying provinces, although that has not been confirmed. So the government is certainly in complete control. As I said, the only evidence of any trouble is after nightfall, for a few hours after nightfall, when there's gunfire that's heard. But the secret police have told us, well, that's just some looters, and that they're taking care of that. That's the way they put it to us yesterday when we talked with several members of the secret police.
Okay, thank you very much, John Zarella, reporting live from Port-au-Prince. Costa Rica, Central America's oldest democracy, today is electing a president. 2 candidates have been running neck and neck to succeed President Luis Alberto Monge, who cannot run again.
There was little activity at the presidential palace, hardly anyone coming or going. There was even a noticeable absence of police, both at the palace and on the streets of the city. Haiti's police and military, who were highly visible during the night, were hardly noticeable during the day. The few tourists on the streets were very visible, especially to locals trying to sell native wares, mostly made of mahogany. This group from Canada saw Friday's violence, but says they were never afraid. But one American from Ohio says the situation was bad, especially around the palace.
We heard a lot of gunshots. A lot of people were running in the streets, no doubt about it. It was a bedlam, really.
Many people crowded the Catholic churches Saturday listening to local parish priests, many appealing for calm. The government had already closed down the religious radio stations for fear that they were inciting the people. They remained shut down.
Prince, and along the highway to the city of Gonaives, demonstrators were letting only journalists through their roadblocks on Saturday afternoon, but not without first venting their frustrations for the benefit of American television crews. It was hard to imagine that these loosely organized Haitians could muster more than angry threats toward the dictator who has ruled them with an iron hand for the past 14 years. But they sang and danced in the dusty streets all the same. Mostly the peasants cried out for things they have wanted for years now. A place to work, food for their family, and possibly a way out of abject poverty. In Gonaïves, where the resistance against Duvalier has reportedly been the most vocal, the army was in apparent control and refused to allow camera crews without government authorization to photograph or interview residents of that troubled city. For now, a revolution that didn't occur in Haiti shows very few signs of generating new strength.
We could be in for an early spring, that's according to
City of
Punxsutawney.
Port-au-Prince, firing at random. Duvalier has also restricted foreign journalists to Port-au-Prince. Haitian refugees in Miami have been celebrating the unrest in their homeland for 3 days. Yesterday, police arrested 4 people as the demonstrations again turned violent. Anna Hovland reports.
It began as a celebration of unrest in Haiti, and Miami police say they sympathize with the demonstrators' desire to see Haitian President Jean-Claude Duvalier overthrown. But after this latest night of violence, officials say they can't let the protests go on.
But right now, we're concerned about the safety of the citizens of Miami. While this is going on here, the rest of the city has no police protection.
The crowd had grown to 1,000 when police moved in Saturday night. Some protesters hurled rocks and bottles. Authorities finally had to use street cleaning machines to clear the area. The demonstrations began Thursday when rumors that Duvalier had been overthrown swept through the community. The White House fed the fire Friday, confirming that the president...
It's an enforced calm that finally prevailed over the Haitian capital at the end of a troubled week. Tight security surrounded the presidential palace following reports that President Jean-Claude Duvalier had been overthrown. Even the White House had said Duvalier fled the country, but the State Department quickly issued a correction.
I'm not going to put an interpretation on what you make of the fact that the report was indeed put out at the outset.
Finally, Duvalier himself dispelled all rumors by announcing a state of siege, and then pledging to get rid of the unequal distribution of wealth that has fueled the recent unrest in that poorest of Caribbean nations. Some of the Haitians who sought to escape the poverty by coming to the United States were overjoyed at the first rumors of Duvalier's overthrow.
We are a proud people, and we're going to be free forever and ever.
But then the street party turned ugly. Police say rioting started when a local businessman accidentally backed his car into a crowd, killing one woman. Refugees turned on the man. Police released their dogs into the crowd in an effort to rescue the motorist. That triggered an angry confrontation. Rioters smashed the windows of a supermarket, burned a car, and hurled rocks and bottles at officers. And not until the trouble died down did the Haitian community in Miami find out they had